Hey sister, this week's video is all about social media engagement. Yes, I whiffled on last week about social media and setting up accounts, and I think I got a little bit carried away with myself in my video from last week. So in this week's video, you'll see me talking much more about engaging with the audience when on social media. You'll also see that I look a little bit tired, and I think I mentioned that my website has crashed. So yeah, it's not all roses in the entrepreneurial world, as it were. I hope this video gives you an insight into how to talk to your audience. My Betty's out there, and I hope it gives you some sense of the work that's involved. I think this is about week 6. I think I'm starting to lose the plot. I think I say that early on in the video because I've had to redo quite a lot of stuff. It's all taken a lot longer than I thought it would do. So it's an interesting experience looking back at myself over these past few weeks. So all of that said, enjoy the video. Hope it helps you engage with your audience, and we'll find out, won't we? Talk to you soon. Take care, sisters. And welcome. Right, I think it's about week 6. I'm losing track of the weeks. I'm enormously tired today. As I said, warts and all, we've had a bit of a nightmare. The website, which I absolutely love, has completely gone down, so I'm having to rebuild that from scratch. We don't know what happened. We think it was a plugin that went into the website. So we have decided to start again. The upside of this, although it's meant an awful lot more work, is that I actually much prefer version 2. Don't suggest you do that because it will cost you a fortune. I happen to have a web guy. But this week I wanted to talk to you about social media. Now, last week I got a bit carried away because I had the opportunity to get onto social media for the first time, really, having identified my target market. And I got all carried away telling you all sorts of things. So I know I waffled on a bit last week. But this week I want to talk to you again about social media, but in a slightly different context. So this is what I've been up to this week. So after I spoke with you guys last week, I pulled myself back together and started to get a bit more strategic. Because if you think about it, there are tons of videos out there that will tell you how to set up Instagram, tell you how to set up Twitter, tell you how to set up Facebook. Now, if that's interesting to you when you guys are watching this at some point in the future, I'm happy to do that, but I do think there are people out there who do that much better than I do. So coming back to the point, my background is sales and marketing. I've got marketing qualifications, I've worked in sales, I've worked in recruitment, I've worked in the insurance industry. So I've got a whole wealth of experience that I was kind of letting slide by because I'm so focused on the technology. And that's absolutely not what we should be doing, because all of this is about you guys. So if none of this resonates with you, then I'll be talking to myself, which is not unusual, but it's been completely pointless. So it's about finding the message that the content, the message that your audience really wants to engage with. And I think I missed that last week entirely in talking to you guys. So I've refocused myself back to some good old-fashioned marketing principles, involved with what does your audience actually want, what do they want to buy, how do they want to communicate, etc. So this week has been about social media, but in a different context. So hop over to somebody else's YouTube channel if you want to set up an account. But here's what I have done, and this is kind of what I would recommend you do in terms of once you've got the nuts and bolts of your account set up, to take things forward. It's the marketing principles behind the content in the social media. I've got my notes in front of me so I don't waffle too much. So, really, it's a case of you've got to understand your audience, and it's all about followers. Yes, it absolutely is, but it's much more about engagement. So in looking at some of the accounts out there on Instagram and Facebook, you can find people who have lots of followers. Certainly in the area that I'm interested in, which is personal development and starting your own business, starting your own side hustle, building confidence for we women folk, there are other people out there who are targeting similar people to my Betty, but probably slightly younger, doing slightly different things. And some of them have got huge amounts amounts of followers, 2.5 million followers, go them. And then some of them have got, I don't know, about 800,000 followers, and so it goes down. The point being, yes, get yourself some followers, and I'll talk to you a moment about Facebook and followers, but it's more about engaging with that audience, and it's more about pitching to the people that are actually interested in. So if I had 2.5 million followers, yes, I would be very happy. But if only a handful of those followers were interested in what I'm doing and what I'm saying, it's a total waste of my resource. And I'm not going to keep them for very long at all. So if you've got 2.5 million followers and you get 500 likes, that's not really an engagement. But if you've got 800,000 followers and you get 500 likes, that's a better percentage. It's all about engagement, and it's all about talking to your audience. So it's about putting content out there that they can relate to, that they want to engage with. It's about that connection. It's not just about getting followers for followers' sake. So that's where I got to, and that's what I've been thinking about this week. So I have looked at some of the other people out there across the space. There are some great accounts that look at sales training and sales coaching and marketing and coaching and all these different platforms. And there's some great names, like Mel Robbins and Tony Robinson and Boss Babes and Female Entrepreneur Association, all sorts of great people out there doing things. So I've been looking at what they do. How do their accounts look? How are their accounts structured? Because they have done this, and there is absolutely no point in reinventing the wheel. Now, I am not suggesting you steal their content, not least it's obviously totally unethical, but they're doing it, so you don't need to. So just get that nailed now. So, but what do? They have established how to engage with their audience, and some of their audience will be my audience. So if you take a collection of best practice from all of these accounts that I know my Betty will be looking at, you can start to build your social media content and your social media platform. So look at the format. So how many posts do they do? What do the posts look like? How is it designed? What levels of engagement are there? So for example, if you look at some of the content that's out there, I think you'll find that if there is a video or if there's a photo, that tends to increase engagement, tends to increase likes. Not always, but that's something that a lot of people seem to do in order to get that little bit more engagement and to sort of break it up a little bit. You need to look at the captions and what they say in the captions and how the captions are structured. It's all about, I'm going to sound trendy now, but it's all about communicating with your tribe. How do your tribe, how do the people you want to engage with speak? What language do they use? What tone do they use? So it's important to understand how it formats, how it looks, and the language that is contained therein, because obviously we all have different buzzwords, we all have different experiences, we all have different views of the world. And yes, we do form a tribe. I think that's a great way, thank you, Seth, of describing people. And once you fit within that tribe, there is certain shortcuts and certain communications, words, sayings, phrases that become really important to you. So identifying those kind of tribe rhythms is hugely important. So I've tried to identify who my tribe is. My tribe I call Betty. And, I've learned some stuff by looking at how other people caption things. What are the words? How do they deal with it? So that's some of the stuff that I've been doing. The other thing is, you've got to use a caption or you've got to use your content to stop people scrolling. So how did they use their content to stop people actually scrolling? Because that's the thing, you want them to hover over that content just briefly and ideally engage with it. So in terms of how I'm thinking of doing this, and we'll find out in the future if it's worked, the way it's looking for me is that I would put a huge hook out there. So some grandiose statement that relates to the content, the image, the message that I want to communicate to my audience. I'll probably then go and tell a story, which I'm not doing in this video, other than the fact that my website's broken and I'm crying. A story that relates to that hook. And then some kind of call to action. So it can be as simple as go to my website. In fact, go to my website or hop onto my Facebook Mastermind page, which I'm creating this week. So by the time you see this video, please go along to Brainy Biscuit Facebook and join my Mastermind group. So, or it can simply be, head on over to YouTube and look at my latest video. So some kind of hook, some kind of story, and then some kind of call to action. Because if you don't tell people what to do, they won't actually know what to do, particularly in this very noisy world. Right, so that's page 1 of my notes. Don't worry, we've only got a tiny bit left to talk about. So that's the language in the post that communicates with your audience. How do they respond to the comments? When you see a comment, what are they asked to do? Are they asked to like something? Are they asked to share something? Do they do that? So it's all really valuable stuff. This is all the marketing engine that will drive your social media platform, because it's not just about having a nice, pretty Instagram page or a wonderful Twitter account. It's about that engagement. And I don't know how I feel at the moment about the two sides of the content coin. From the two sides I'm talking about is the first side is just put everything out there, because you'll make a lot of noise and you'll be very productive, and I'm sure you'll engage with your audience. Or do you craft it so that it is something particularly unique and special and perfect? Be very careful of the word perfect, because perfect is the enemy of the good. And if you haven't heard me say that already, you will hear me say that in the future, because nothing's ever perfect, because circumstances change and then you want to reinvent the wheel. So I don't know where I'm sitting with this at the minute. I don't know if I'm going to put out loads of stuff and keep everybody engaged. Oh, good, look, it's her, it's the Brainy Biscuit again. Or if I'm going to create something that is very pretty and beautiful and really relates to the audience. I don't want to fall between two stools, but, I don't quite know which way to go, so we'll find out if you're watching this in the future. Build your templates. Build something that looks good for you. Now, I do, if I can get it to open, which of course I can't. Good old lad. I do actually have my Instagram feed here. So I've curated my Instagram feed to look like that. So it's, I'm thinking of making some changes. I think of putting more photos in, just discuss that with you. But, it's going white quote, pink quote, me. So that's how I've decided to curate my Instagram feed, so that it looks good and it becomes it's a brand. This is part of my personal branding, as it were. So that's it. One thing I did want to say to you before I hop off this week. Content needs to be shareable, because obviously you're trying to drive your likes, you're trying to drive your community. So the content that you put out on your social media needs to really, really engage with your audience, but it also needs to be something that they can share, they can put out to their friends, etc., and their colleagues, to drive your numbers. Now, here's a thing. Yes, people share content because they think that Dick, Jane or Spot will be really interested in that piece of content that they're sharing. Of course they do. But we are very selfish animals. So the other reason people share content is it makes them look good. So if I share content with my friend Betty, yes, I want her to get value from the content, but I want to feel that I'm going to look better or be more important, or whatever the message is, by sharing that content. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about the content to put out there. I've got a long way to go on what I do with my content. I absolutely know that. But I know that if I can find content that makes the sharer look really, really cool, really, really good, really, really informed, oops, dropped my papers, then that's absolutely going to help with my shares. And that's what I need to do, because I need to build this business, because we're stuck in lockdown and I need to have a business as we come out of lockdown. That's it, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. Yes, I've waffled again, but I think it's a bit tighter this week about what we need to do, how I'm doing it, what's going on. As I say, I'm talking to my future self at the moment, so I'm in the process of Facebooking. I don't know if that is a word. So yes, setting up a mastermind group on Facebook. Head over to Brainy Biscuit on Facebook, because that's where I intend to share all of my ideas and to get you guys to get comments and feedback and all of that sort of thing. Obviously the website, brainybiscuit.com, and I think that's it for this week. So I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care.